Word on this thing. All right, we are recording. We're all recording. Okay, for next week, I need you to be aware of this tool called VS Code. Now, if for any reason you cannot get VS Code installed, please let me know. I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the chat. Okay, this should be installed to your computer. Okay? And I've talked about this in previous class. We're trying to supplement what we're doing on CodePen. Again, CodePen is just for practice. It's just practice, practice, practice. And what we want is how do we work on our stuff locally? And the other big thing here, I know this isn't an issue for most people, but you should be able to work with a web on a website anywhere. And I do mean anywhere. In a normal class, I'll pull out my phone and start making websites. And people think that I'm joking here. Panic, iOS, Coda. Okay. Right. I'm dead serious. Right. When I need to, for whatever reason, get to a site, I've been in meetings and have had, need to go in and change the site, and I'll just pull out my phone and take care of what I need to. That's it. It's just text. And I'm trying to kind of take away what should be quote unquote magical about the stuff is your designs. And I'm not joking there. Like I'm serious here. Like I think all the awesome stuff are your ideas and your designs. All of this stuff is just implementation details, right? So I really trying to demystify all of the stuff. So there's that. Right, but we're going to be using this one. Okay, we're going to be using this one. Make sure you can get this installed to your home computer, right? If probably the best thing to do is after this class ends, click the download button, get it installed to your preferred platform, right? Anybody out there running Linux right now? Linux is awesome. Here's Tux. This is Tux. Oh, I'd rather talk about Raspberry Pis and Linux, but that's a different class, right? Get through Web 1 and we can start talking about Raspberry Pis and Linux. All right, so there's that. All right, we're all good. Thumbs up. Everybody clear? You need to get Visual Studio Code installed for next week? Okay, all right. Let's do that. I don't know why I'm making these noises, but I am. Okay, so right now we're gonna get started with this idea of a one-page template. And there's also one-page designs. There are lots of design websites and design galleries. This is one that I've used quite a bit. And they're single page websites, and eventually these become what's called an SPA, or a single page application, right? Single page application. Okay. And what I'm trying to show you here is what we're doing in Web 1, right? Is just laying the foundations for future classes and future ideas here. And if you think about it, really, really hard, a lot of that's not a small picture. That's a small picture. If you really, really think about it, like, and oh, here is a great diagram of an SPA, or a single page application. Is most of the apps you're using are really single pages, but Colin, they have screens, but Colin, there are slide overs and there are cards and modals. But if we think about it, they're just different views of the single application. And that's part of the reason they're so fast, is they're basically loading in the entire web page. And what they're doing is they're showing you one card at a time, one layer at a time, one section at a time. And it just feels like you have multiple pages, but they're really just multiple screens. And so this is what we're gonna get started on. Like, we're gonna start designing, and the first place we're gonna do is do responsive design, right, for a mobile device on a single page application. Okay. So in the future, this is where we're going to be. We're going to be pulling content from a CMS, and if you don't know what that is, that's okay. Okay, but we're just getting this started for right now. All right, and here we can go back to this. And if you're looking for inspiration and ideas, I can't stress this enough. Okay, so your textbook takes care of all of the implementation details, right? And my job is to say, like, what else can we do with this? How does this work? Why would you use it? Why does this thing exist? And so there's that. Oh, here's a gorgeous site right here, right? Single page application. So it's got a loader. I'll deal with the loader another day. Okay, right. And to the user, this might feel like multiple pages, but to us, we understand that this is really just one site, right, divided up into segments. Okay, enough of the concept. Let's get into the actual application of this. All right, so first off, we want to make sure that we understand how to make this. So we're going to go into our Professor Pen. So let's do that. Let's get into the course website, get the Professor Pen open, and then we're going to practice to make sure that this works. And this one, once we have it working, we can go ahead and apply it. So I'm gonna get my tabs organized here. All right, no questions on the midterm check. This is what we're doing. Okay. As you can see there, I'm way behind in my Codecademy, but that's okay for me, not for you. Look, oh, this student is way behind. This student needs to get their act together. All right, we're done with that. Sorry, I had all my tabs open and I lost them all. All right, let's see if we can get out of here in 20 minutes. All right, so again, from the course website, there is a link to the Professor Pen where we test, make sure it's all working. In last class, we were able to make a contact form and actually have it submit. In last class, we repointed our hover domain to its correct location. And last class, we now can use our purchase domain and it goes to the right spot. If as long as the internet isn't slow, but we can fix that. All right. So there's that, and here's this. All right, so before we add something to this, before we add something to our staging site, we want to be able to test it out. So I'm gonna get rid of all this, get rid of all that. All right, let's go do this. All right, so we have, and again, our CodePen pen is saying, look, we know that we need all of this. We know we need an HTML, we know we need a head, and like I only keep saying this over and over again, but I really want to drive this point home that CodePen is saying, look, I just want to focus on what is between the body elements. And I don't want to have to type body every single time I want to test something out. And again, one of the things we're going to be doing in industry is, you know, when you have an idea, they're like, all right, go make a pen, go prove that this idea actually works, right? And so that's what we're doing right now. All right, so we're going to make this element called main. Hit main tab. Okay. And you're going to have an element called main. Okay. And main is great to encapsulate all of your content. Like, ask yourself, what is the main content on my website? All right, great place to start right there. All right, and then we're going to have our H1 with our name there. Okay. And other content, we're going to have a P tab, lorem tab. Right, there's just some basic content. And then we're going to have in this huge image right here, IMG tab. I'm hitting P tab again, IMG. Bring your cursor to the end of the line. Hit tab on that, and let's go ahead now and let's see here. We're going to get a large image. We're going to pull this from our assets here. Let's see here. Why does everybody on the internet look like they have a headache? That was a joke. I don't think that, oh, I can't hear if that even. Yeah. You ever notice thumbnails on thumbnails on YouTube? Looks like everybody has a headache. Thumbs up. Thanks, Blake. Just you and me. All right, let's get a picture of this dog. All right. So what we want here is we want the full size image on this, and you can copy the URL. All right, we're going to copy the URL, and we're going to all use the same full size image. Okay. So you go to your design team and say, hey, I learned about this thing called a one page single page application, right, or a one page site. I'm like, I don't know what that is. How do we make this thing work? Okay. So first off, you'll notice here that it's not responsive, right? So we have this container, and again, we're trying to avoid, we only want to use divs when we need them. We only want to use divs for block elements and spans for when we actually need them. And so that's a good place to start. So what we want to do here, if our main element, and I'm going to leave this open so you can copy and paste the code. What we want to do is kind of make this responsive. Okay, so we can start styling this thing, right? So we're gonna today we're gonna do our single initial, right? This is our initial, right, SPA layout, or single page application layout. Oh, let's not get too far ahead of us. One page layout. There you go. Okay, and then we're going to do some typography today, right? Good. If we have any more time, we'll address media queries, but we may not have time for that. All right, let's get started on all these things. So we're going to take care of layout and type all at once. All right, so first off, this image is massive and it's huge, and that's okay because there's the image. And so, but what your browser is doing, it's resizing this massive, massive image. And the reason I'm picking this massive image is because I want us to be able to deal with an image of any size. Okay. So we're in our CodePen pen. Okay. So now let's go ahead and now select our image. And the next thing I'm going to teach you is this idea of diagnostic styling. So we're finally into styling, okay? And for next week, right, one of the things that I'm mandating is, other than VS Code, I almost forgot to talk about this. This is in your syllabus, is we're using Firefox. And we'll talk more and more about why we're using Firefox. Now, I don't want to get into the nerd fight about my browser is better than your browser, because I can argue they're all good and bad in many, many ways. But this has the design tools that we're looking for, and that's all. That's the only reason, and I want to be able to standardize what everybody is looking at. Okay, you're gonna go work for a company, and they're like, no, this is our preferred, this is our primary browser. So just kind of get used to that. Yeah. All right, so we have main, and part of that is, right before we get into those dev tools, we're gonna go ahead and go to change view, okay, and click this open in debug mode. So we have a pen, we have it in debug mode. And what I don't want you to do is this, and this is if I see you doing this, I either turn off your computer. I literally just come up and just turn off the display for a second. And I said, let's make this easier on yourself. So the first designer comes in here and says, I'm gonna make this thing a background of black, right? And so they'll get that, and then they'll come back here and they'll refresh, right? Or they'll make a change and look over, make a change and look over, make a change and look over. And what I want us to be able to do is be more, the word I'm looking for is like programmatic about this. Okay, and I need to find another way to say that, is we need to be a little bit more effective about how we're designing. So you made the change to black, and let's say you want to make the change to yellow, right? And I'm intentionally picking these terrible colors because what are we learning from Colin right now? We're learning this concept called diagnostic styling, and this right here will save you hours and hours and hours and hours because we're visual people, right? Right? Even non-visual people need this because you want to be able to see what the browser is doing. So in terms of diagnostic styling, one of the first things you can do is just change the background color, right? And now you can see that change being made. But what we want is something a little bit more effective than that. So inside of, and I'm getting you ready for next week here, is if you control click and inspect element, so control click inspect element, what we can do is that we can actually highlight the body, right? And this is what I mean by this. So if your design team says, hey, can we see this in a different color? First design goes, right? I gotta come in here and make this thing yellow now, right? And your design team says, hey, how about yellow green? You're like, right? We're already going back and forth. And what we want to be able to do is say, is come into here and just select main and go, how's this yellow? How's that yellow? Right? Or ooh, let's go ahead and move this hue of green. And what this allows us to do is look how fast we're changing our site. Right? We can be a little bit more specific, right? That's why we learned specificity last week about our design. And this idea extends all the way to our tools. All right. So how else a part of diagnostic styling? So the other thing we need to do is make this image smaller. So if we select image, right, we only have one main right now. If we just select image, we're going to get every single image on the page, right? Per your homework. Oops, right here. Per your homework, right? When it's CSS selectors. If you just say give it one selector, it's going to get every image. Okay. But we want a specific image, the one inside of main. So we're going to go main, right? Space img. And the easy thing we're going to do is we're going to make this thing easy to work with. So we're going to give it a width of, let's see, 25%. All right, good. So now we have an image that we can work with. But what we don't want is our image to be the same size all the time. So that's where we need to have this part, a media query. Okay. So what I want you to be able to focus on right now, and I can highlight this is, is there a way to highlight this here? what I want you to be able to focus on is how these three things are interrelated to each other. That's what we're talking about right now. And being able to use our dev tools helps us see this. Another method here is, so there's our image. Another method here is we want our H1. So we're going to go main, right, space H1. And from previous lectures, what is our specificity score of main space H1? I'm pacing back and forth. You can't see me pace. What's our specificity score there? Y'all, don't make me, I will go back to this. Someone's got this. Count it out. Okay. Is there any inline styling on this H1? Right there. Is there any inline styling? Someone in the chat. Somebody. Someone's got the score. Oh, there we go. Someone gave a score. All right. 2. Perfect. Callum. Nice. Okay. There's no inline styling. So that gets a visual score of 0. Next one. Is there any IDs attached to this H1, right? Because in your homework, you learned about IDs, right? In your selectors. Right down here, section 10, classes versus IDs. Yeah. And so there's no IDs there, 0, right? There's no classes, dots and colons there. And how many elements? Main and H1. So Callum, nice work. Okay. And this is what we need to know. Okay. We can't forget this stuff, right? This stuff carries through. All right, so we got that. There's a main score of H1. Another way to do this is use outline, right? 1px solid red, and you can pick whatever color you want. And Colin, do you really do this? Absolutely. I need to be able to see everything on the screen, right? And so diagnostic styling is temporary. Diagnostic styling is temporary. Third and annoying time, diagnostic styling is temporary. Don't guess. Okay, so between these techniques, right? So what are you learning in Colin's class? This concept called diagnostic styling. Okay, what are you learning in Colin's class? Like how to use the dev tools. Otherwise, you make a change, hit refresh. Make a change, hit refresh. By the time you take web 2 of me, right? If I see you hitting refresh, we're doing this incorrectly, right? Sorry, by next week. Sorry, next week. We're not going to have to hit refresh next week, right? It should be just as fast as this, right? Hitting refresh is effective, right? But there's a better way to do this. All right. Well, that's a lot of talking for this really, really, really bad design, Colin. Yes. Okay, we want to make sure we understand these concepts. All right, let's come in here and we're going to continue on and use a box model. So that means we're going to give this thing a width. Let's go ahead and make this. Let's start with a fixed width right now. Going to have a width of, my screens are really, really small. And I think this is where this online classes begin to fail because I just don't have the real estate. Let's start with 800 pixels and you can pick any size you want. All right, and so now what we want is, we're designers and we don't want all of our content to be flushed against this. And the other thing here is we want to get rid of that white space right up there, right? And now we could guess all day long, right? And don't be that designer that comes in here and says, well, I'm just gonna make a change and then see what happens. Like, no. We have a better way to do this. Okay. So there was a time on the internet, right, that we did design, we had to guess what the browser was doing. Now we can say, well, where's that white space coming from? And if we select this H1, right, we can visually see this. Yeah. And what this is going to do is get us ready next week for the box model. So we can't do the box model. The box model is easier with Firefox than the dev tools. But you can see that right here, that there's this thing called the box model. And everything on, without getting into next week's lecture, everything on the internet is a square or a rectangle. So that space right there is from this property called margin top. And what you can do is come in here and type margin top and go backwards and forth about like what the dimension should be. Or you can come into here and just go, there's 0. Now what you can't see is I'm holding down my up arrow and I'm holding the down arrow. This is the animation. This is how we're going to be animating stuff, by changing the box model properties. So if we can't statically position something, we're going to have a really challenging time animating. So I'm going to give this a box model value of 0. Now also, while I'm here, why am I going back and forth? I'm already here. Why can't we design from just right here? And this is the point I'm trying to make. Okay. All right. So we're going to come here to this main, and I want this thing centered to the page, right? So what's this classic layout is called fixed width. Like the yellow is fixed width, and we're going to center align this. So it has a fixed width of 800, and then we're going to center align this. We're going to use this box model property called margin auto 0. And let's talk about this real fast. All right, so typically you see the shortcut all over the internet that looks like this. And a good question I can ask people is, what the heck does that do? So going clockwise, right? So there's the top side, right side, bottom left, top, bottom left, top, bottom left. I mean, sorry, top, right, bottom left, top, right, bottom left in a clockwise fashion. And so the first value here is the top value, which we're going to say 0. The right value is we're going to say, hey, everything in the negative space is going to be auto. And then the bottom, right? I want everything flushed if it goes to the bottom. And then we're going to set this auto on the left side. And then developers got kind of lazy and said, we're kind of tired of typing that. So in CSS, one of the things that you learn in your homework is if the first half matches the last half of a value, okay, you can get rid of the last half. So that's why we can come in here and go pound 0000 for black, for the right, and then that's why you see it normally truncated as just that. Okay, but regardless, we should be able to recognize both. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this a lighter color so we can see it. Okay. Use these tools that are here for you. And if we can't remember that, right, this is our awesome dev tools. Ready? This will show us what all those properties are. Okay. All right, so now that we got this working, all we need to do is copy this out. So we're going to go to main. Okay. And that was much quicker, right, than going back. Oops, we're going to put this on main. That was much, much quicker than going backwards and forwards, back and forth, right? And that's not what we're looking for. We want a way to style this. Okay. All right, with me? I've been doing a lot of talking. Thumbs up. You're with me on this one? Yay, yay. All right. So, all right. So now you can use this fancy term of diagnostic styling. And I should give credit to this. Eric Meyer was the one that came up with the great Eric Meyer. Again, Eric Meyer is the person who wrote the definitive guide on CSS. Like he's kind of like a foremost expert in CSS. And they asked him, it's like, you know, what are some of your techniques? He's like, Eric, he's like, well, I got this concept called diagnostic styling, which always worked for him. And what year did I learn about diagnostic styling? Already 2007. Okay, so before then, it was a lot of, like, it was one of those things like, oh, why don't I just do that? Why don't I make things fuchsia and lime so we can actually see how everything looks? Why don't I give it something, a border and an outline and a background color? Right? If you try to design things pixel perfect where they're supposed to be all the time, it's really, really hard. And what we're trying to do is have temporary styling so we can see those things. All right, so we got that. Okay, margin auto 0. We got our fixed width. Okay, and if it gets big enough on this page, we can actually see that. All right, there's our design, and we want to do the same thing for our image. Okay, there's going to be better methods to do what I'm going to do right now. But for right now, okay, I'm teaching you the all right, sorry, my last class of the day. I don't think this shouldn't work, but oh, I'm struggling to say to do this. Yeah, this is not the method I want you to use. I want you to use the Flexbox. So let's do that instead. We're going to display flex, right, and then flex wrap. Let's hold off on that. I don't want to go too far into the box model. Okay, so this is part of our initial layout. Okay, now let's go ahead and use what we're going to be using all quarter long, which is Google Fonts, to take care of our typography. Okay? And by the end of class, we're going to remove all of this additional styling. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll make some additional content here. Okay. All right, so there's no getting around this. Everyone go to fonts.google.com. Google Fonts is great. Right? it takes all of these open source freely available fonts, and it hosts them for you. It makes the hard work of hosting fonts. The downside of Google Fonts is everybody uses Google Fonts, and there are better ways ones, and you can self-host it. For Web 1, I don't teach you how to self-host your own fonts, right? I'm always like, use a third party, and Google Fonts is a third party for this. So if for some reason Google decides to shut down Google Fonts, what's going to happen to your website? Anybody? Can anybody chime in? Let me know that you're still there. What's going to happen to your font that you pick?
It'll go into Times New Roman.
Go chat, go. Right, Josh. Times New Roman. All right, what's going to happen to your font? Let's pretend Google, or let's be more realistic, right? Google is slow one day, right? Google has outages. There it happens. There you go, right? It's going to go back to the default of whatever that is. It's not going to work. All right, and we see this all the time, right? When we're waiting for something to load, we're waiting for a website to load, right? All the fonts change all of a sudden. Okay, don't overlook that, right? So this is going to be the default, right? And what's going to happen is that the fonts that we load are going to wait. It might be a couple seconds, and then all of a sudden the site changes, right? And that's called the flash of unstyled content, right? FOUC. You can look that up in your own time. Like, there's a thing called flash of unstyled content. And what we're trying to do is avoid all that, because that's not a good user experience. It's really, really jarring. Okay? But now that we have that understanding, let's go into Google Fonts. Let's pick a font. Okay, and right now we're going to select the body font that applies the entire site wide, and we can come into here, and they keep changing this on me. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a serif font, because not enough good serif fonts are being used. Right, and Roboto Slab is a good start. I'm going to click on this. Okay. Refresh my memory. Does your textbook, have your textbook cleared out at the beginning of the quarter so I can see what you're seeing? Refresh my memory. Does your textbook cover Google, how to embed a Google font?
I saw it in Code Academy, but I didn't
Blake?
see the book.
Is that a yes? Yeah.
I said I saw it in Code Academy. Can you hear me?
Sorry, the chat thing keeps going away. The chat thing keeps going away. Right. All right, so let's go to Google Fonts. We're going to grab Roboto Slab. And to use this, we don't want to download. We don't want to download. We don't want to download. Okay, what we want to do is actually just use Google to serve this up for us. So we're going to go ahead and click on. There we go. Okay, can we just use the classic site? I guess I need to learn how to use this. I much prefer the classic site. So let me see if I can figure out how to use this now. And if you're familiar with this, help me out, because this has changed since last quarter, which is just fine by me. Let's see here. We're going to select, I want the regular style. So they're going to make you select all the styles regularly. And that's good, because it's going to make it more performant. I want that one, and I want the medium one. So I'm going to select those two variants. And then we're going to go to, I don't want to download. Okay, there we go. I want the embed. So we're going to grab that. Okay, this is HTML or CSS, y'all. By this point, we should understand the different syntax difference between HTML and CSS. Is that HTML or CSS?
That's
I'm going to turn off
HTML.
screen share until someone answers. Right. Okay. So thank you, May. Or no, May, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. That's what we're looking for. I need you to be able to understand this. So I get a lot of this, right? I copied it and pasted from Google, just like the website wanted. Okay. I did exactly what the website wanted. And now I was like, is that HTML or CSS? Colin, just tell me what to copy and paste. I go, no. That's the whole point of this class. We should understand what to copy and paste. We should be able to look at a solution, right? And this is where I'm teaching you to fish for future classes, or for the rest of your careers. You should be able to look at something, right, and begin to process, like, where does it go, right? And what are the pros and cons of this? And do I copy everything or just something, right? And then what do I need to change? And that's really one of the things we're taking away from this class is I want you to copy and paste, and then I want you to be able to change what you copy and pasted. I want you to be able to understand what you copy and pasted. All right, so there's our HTML. Now in our CodePen, right, where do we put that? I don't want you to get lax, okay? This is where we get lax. Notice I didn't say lazy, I said lax, everybody. You can just paste it right into there, right? But this is supposed to be, this panel is supposed to represent the body. And what we want to do, better yet, here is we want to take that out of there. And this is where CodePen is so awesome, right? We're going to click on this gear icon right there. And here it is, right? The stuff for the head, stuff for the meta element, right? That's where we're going to paste it. Okay, because the whole point of CodePen is to abstract away, right, or hide what we don't need to see. Okay, stuff that we know that needs to be there, but we don't need to see it right now. We're gonna hit save and close on this. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and apply this font, right? So I'm just gonna go and we're gonna apply this to the body because we want this to be applied site-wide. So we're gonna go font family FF, and if we said serif, yes, it's gonna go to serif. But the other one here is Google basically is saying, hey, to use this, you have to use this, right? So a lot of people will do this. We're going to copy this. And this is what your homework is addressing here, is if we come in here, and I've gotten this before, Colin, I copied and pasted exactly as is, and it didn't work. Okay, so this is where we have to understand CSS structure. This is a key, I'm sorry, this is a property, and this is a value that needs to go inside of a rule. Okay, so let's break this down. We need to understand our CSS syntax now. We have a selector or selectors, right? Okay, we have selectors, right? Curly brace. Okay, then we have our property, right? Single property and the value for that. And we might have multiple values. Okay, and what we want is, and this is design. What I'm doing right here is the design. Pick something, change it. Pick something, change it. Right, pick something and be able to change one thing or many, many things about it. Okay, and so that's our CSS structure. So now that we have that structure, we're taking a look at this right here, right? And here is a property left of the colon and a value right of the colon. And if we just take this property, right, just take this property and just paste it in here, right? We're not using this correctly. Okay, so this is what's called a declaration. Okay, and a declaration is what you call a single line of a property and a value. I am declaring this font family to be Roboto Slab. That's a declaration. In your CSS rules, right, everything inside of the fences, okay, are a whole bunch of declarations, right? And that is the TLDR of CSS. Okay, all right, so we're gonna grab that declaration. Come right into here, right? And now it's going to apply that entire font family to there. And then our page begins to take shape. All right, so right, so now we can come in here and we can go main H1. Okay. Oh, there's our main H1, which specifies the score. And we can go text align. Okay. Now our main is going to be centered. Trying to find the way it's going to work for us in this week. I don't want to introduce too many new things. We're going to leave it for right now. Is everybody okay? We're going to leave the image not centered. Yeah. But if you want to do this, you can just come. Let's good, better, best. All right. Thanks for voting, Brandon. But I like to say stuff and then override it. So I'm gonna come in here and set this thing to text on the parent. We're gonna text align the center on the image. Okay. And then because that's being inherited, oh, I'm already cringing at my solution, but we're going to main space paragraph, okay, and we're going to text align that left, okay, and maybe this is a good thing, right? Maybe we're going to see that this solution works. It's a good solution, but there's a better solution out there, and we'll talk about that better solution later, right? Good, better, best. Good, better, best. All right. The other thing here is you want to be able to get. So what I can't do, what you can do is you can take this and do this, right? Collapse your screen, okay? Make it so, right, that you can see what is happening to your site. Now, isn't this annoying, right? Yes, it's very, very annoying, especially on your screens. So there's a better way to do this. We're going to come right into here. And there, right over here in your dev tools, so to turn this on, I just right-clicked inspect element anywhere inside of here. And there's this handy dandy, very, very handy. And if you turn this on accidentally before, or you didn't have it, or you just figured out it exists, it's great. So you can spot a designer by someone who's always expanding and collapsing a browser window, right? And that's one way to do it, and it works, right? It's just tedious. Or you can go ahead and use the dev tools to replicate this, right? And you can begin to see how this is going to look across different screens, right? And if you do need to do the custom sizes, there's a handle for you to do just that, okay? Now notice this isn't responsive, but Colin, it's changing size and width, but what's happening to the content? The content is being cut off. Okay. And so it's challenging right now because I'm trying to teach you the foundations and also talk about like responsive design all at once. And that's a concept within itself. Okay, so we got this. And now what we can do is we can remove the diagnostic styling. We can come in here and go, you know, we don't need that yellow anymore, okay? Because that was so we could see the background. And we also don't need this outline, right, anymore. Right. And this is where diagnostic styling comes into play. This is what you want. You want to be able to see how your site is laying out. All right, so let's go back into now that we've practiced this and we got this thing working, let's go apply this. So get into your project and we're gonna apply this, what we just practiced. Okay, so practice, let's go apply this now. So now we're inside of index.html. Okay, and again, from the course site, right here, it links out to what I'm doing so you can see this. All right, so I got this thing working. We practiced, right? We went ahead and we demonstrated to our design team that, hey, this is what we're going for, okay? I cannot stress to you anymore this idea of being able to modularize your process, right? Be modular in how you design stuff, okay? Right, show of hands, anybody understands Figma? Colin, just do it, like, stop going off on a tangent. Just hang in there for a second. All right, has anybody used Figma before? Show of hands. Anybody take UX1? All right, Andy, Nick. All right, Carissa, right? Everybody knows about components in Figma. So what is Andy, Nick, do you guys want to explain what a component is in Figma? Hit spacebar.
A component allows you to basically make something once and then utilize it later.
All right, I'm gonna be you for a lack of time, okay? Right. So what can you do with a component in Figma? Design it once, and you make the change once, and the change is reflected site-wide on your app. It's site-wide in your design, and it's that same concept that we're being applied here. And that same concept was what applies to these design tools. Okay, so it's components, symbols. Okay, even in Microsoft Word, when you make the styling for your text, you want to make a change to that styling one time. So I make sure that you understand this conceptually, what these ideas are. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my body there. Okay. But we talk, but you can't hear. Uh-oh, thanks y'all. Did I stop screen sharing? We've had a lot of issues with Zoom. I shouldn't have updated. Let's see here, participants. All right. So if you can't, all right, try that now. I just allowed you to unmute yourself if somebody wants to talk. All right, so we're gonna go into the body and type main, right? And we can, it's gonna open there. We're gonna come down to here right before the body closes and paste main inside of there. Okay. And then we're gonna open up styles.css and begin to start designing this thing. Right, and that's where we can take all of this code here that we got working and just go and just paste it into styles.css. Right, and we're adding to our design. Now, how come I'm not getting Roboto? Right, now that I unmuted y'all, How come I'm not getting Roboto? What do I need to do to get Roboto back? It's working on the pen. Okay. Now stuck muted. Not sure. All right. So thank you for letting me know. Appreciate it. Okay. Josh, thanks. Appreciate it. All right. So now to get it back, have we added the Google fonts to our project? No. Okay. And by being able to see all of these steps in the process, this is what we're learning. Okay. What to type is easy. Right? CodePen is full of what to type. How does it work? That's the hard part. All right, so to get that, we're going to go back into our pen. Okay, we're going to grab that link from Google, right? That same one that we got from the embed. And then we're going to put this inside of the head of our HTML because that's what that panel is for. And we always like to be icing on the cake. So that's normalize. Okay, inside of normalize is our Google font right there. Okay, and then we're always icing on the cake. Styles.css. Right, and there we go. Okay. And now that we're starting to do design, we can get rid of some of this diagnostic styling. So I'm going to get rid of that. And that gray is not bad, but maybe we make it a light gray. Right, we're going to keep the orange red. That's just for me. You can make these changes. Good. So now we can hit save and all of this. And right now, if we needed to get, so let's say we're happy with this. Right, what do we need to do before I let you go? What do we need to do to get this to Netlify? Anybody? Oh. All right, export, download, and upload. Perfect, got it. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Josh. Right, export, download, upload, and just wash, rinse, and repeat. And so you want to wash, rinse, and repeat as frequently as you need. But this is where we practice. This is where we get approval. And this process is a large portion of what we're learning in this class. All right. Whew. All right. Let me stop recording here.